Do you want to win the Millie Maker? Because guess what? So do I. And I'm here to share with you some of my favorite plays to help us take it down on both DraftKings and Fanduel this week. Let's go. 10 under 10, week 2, DFS Army. Here we go. What up, everybody? It's your boy, DFSUpNorth, aka Josh Thomas, here with another 10 under 10 video podcast where I break down my 10 favorite plays, 5 from DraftKings, 5 from Fanduel, that are all projected under 10% owned to hopefully help you or me take down the Millie Maker this week on one of those two sites. Last week we had a pretty good week, QBs, things like that. We'll get into it, right? But it's week 2. It's exciting. We've got kind of a weird slate on the main slate this week with only really 1 or 2 high total games. So there's lots of maybe uncomfortable positions, for lack of a better term, to get into this week with different guys that I think can really vault you to the top of the leaderboard. Before we go any farther, though, if you're on DFS Army VIP, what are you guys doing? Like, first off, I just want to show this. I got to share my screen here because these guys, we've been crushing. We have been crushing people, particularly in Showdown. Oh, there's our article for this week. But this was Monday night. Weird Showdown. Cowboys defense. I wrote the notes for this. But, we guys over at DFS Army crushed it. Like, these are just a couple of our winning lineups. But my boy Semper took down 1250 here. And then really, with maybe one of the best names in DFS Army VIP history, Frank will gore you 70K. Just missed out on the big win. And actually, let's look here. Maybe I can show what these guys wrote. Let me stop my screen share and let's present another screen. I can show you guys what these guys wrote about their winning lineups, right? Turpin, Cowboys D. This was the lineup that those guys both had, right? Cowboys D with Kayvonte Turpin, who had 10.5 nodes, but Semper said DFSUpNorth said pair Turpin and Dallas D, and as soon as I saw that it was going to rain throughout the game, I decided on the D as captain. Didn't know Dallas planned on using Turpin for more than returns. That was just luck. But yeah, these guys just crush. And if you scroll, like, this is our DFS Army Discord. There's another $10,000 winner from that night. $1,000. Like, what are you guys doing? If you are not a DFS Army subscriber, like, you're missing out, guys. Like, you are massively missing out. These wins are coming every single week, whether it is a showdown slate or it is it really doesn't matter, right? Like, we are crushing everywhere. So get involved. And if you saw me scroll through there, there's actually a couple of big MLB ones. Did you guys know that MLB is still going on? The longest season in the history of sports. Drives me bonkers, but the guys over in the MLB side are crushing. I'm recording this on Friday night. If you're watching this Friday night, get up, become a DFS Army VIP, and you can get the soccer notes for tomorrow, for this weekend. As soon as I finish this, I'm going back to write more golf showdown notes. Like, it never stops, and the winning never stops here. So become a VIP, use that code UpNorth. That gets you 10% off for life. And also, if you are watching this right now, and you like this content, you are a fan of what we do here, make sure that you are subscribing to this YouTube channel and give it a like, right? Maybe give it a subscribe, and then comment who your favorite 10 under 10 play is, right? Who's your, not even necessarily mine. If you like one of mine, sure, comment those, but who do you like this week that is projecting under 10% owned? And fittingly, you can see in the screen here my motto, all right? And that is really what started this article. A couple of years ago, we started doing this, but my motto when it comes to DFS, very similar to famous philosopher Richard Bobby's quote, if you ain't first, you're last. My motto when it comes to DFS is first or last. I ain't here to min cash. I don't want to just get across the line. I want to win this thing. Maybe get second. I'll take second, right? 70K for second ain't bad, but $500,000 for first is a lot better. So, and I think sometimes that people who play DFS tend to be too cautious with their lineup builds. And really, again, that is what the goal of this article is. Somebody said last week, I hate all of these plays. And they wrote that in the comments on YouTube. Like, and I hope you're watching right now, because that is literally the point of this. That is literally the point of this, is that that if you follow along, and we've done it with back testing and looking at past winning lineups, that the lineups that win these massive contests are ugly. Lineups that you or I would never really think to do because it doesn't correlate or it doesn't go with what we've been taught. And the reality is that that's what wins, especially nowadays. The field has gotten so sharp. You can't play DFS the same way that you did 5 years ago. It doesn't work. So again, first or last, I ain't here to min cash. And that's motto number one. Motto number two is don't enter anything that you can't just bring out in your front yard and light on fire. All right. That is my philosophy, is that if you're not willing to light that money on fire in your front yard, then you're playing too much volume, right? It has, because you're not making the right decisions. Now, if you're just a cash player, single, like head to head, whatever, that's fine. Then you can play a little bit more because it's a little different. But like if you're trying to win GPPs, the money that you are entering in there, you should be comfortable walking out to your front yard and lighting it on fire, because that's the type of attitude that you have to win these GPPs. So let's get to it. First, we're going to talk about what happened last week, and kind of see how we did. Like I said in the intro, I thought we had a really nice week on quarterbacks. After that, it was a bit So Draftkings, we had Kirk Cousins, 22.46. He was QB number 4. Crushed again last night on Thursday Night Football. And guys, like, here's the deal. I don't know that I might just put a disclaimer in this. Let me get in close here. Like, I might just put a disclaimer that I'm going to play Kirk Cousins every week, regardless, because my Vikings suck. They cannot run the ball. They refuse to run the ball. They're averaging 2.6 yards per carry right now. And they're just not doing it that much. Kirk is going to throw 40 plus times every single game. Like, he has potential to be the number 1 QB, minimum top 5 every single week this year. Play him. Doesn't matter what the ownership is. Get him in your lineup. And if we can get him under 10% owned, awesome, right? Awesome. Derek Carr had a nice week last week. We can get back into it here. Derek Carr had a nice week, 18.6. He was the QB9. Mostert scored, ended up RB 15 on the week on DraftKings, and really didn't get as much run as we would have liked. And now he's out. So maybe that injury had something to do with it. And then Marvin Mims Jr. was wide receiver 1 million. I was too lazy to go through and look and see what number it was and count. But 2.9 points really didn't do much. And really the offense in general over there for Denver wasn't great. They were okay. But Derek Carr was good. I forgot to say that. Like, I'm really high on that offense, that passing offense. Rashid Shaheed, really good. Really good. Chris Olave is the one who gets all the hype, but Shaheed is a baller, and I like how Carr looks in that offense. He feels comfortable. He called the play. If you watch some of the highlights from last week, he said, okay, I want to run that fly route to Shaheed again. They did it, and it almost resulted in a touchdown. It actually kind of iced the game there for him. But and then George Pickens against the tougher San Francisco 49ers defense. I fell for the Kenny Pickett hype a little bit, but Pickens was not great either. If we continue to scroll, we can see that on FanDuel. Similarly, Howell, nice week, QB 12. We got Javonte Williams, 9.7 points, not great. Like I said, Denver was sort of a fantasy wasteland, except for Adam Troutman, who looked good. He's a guy who you want to maybe get involved with. He almost made the list here this week. But then Mike Evans, we switched off. If you were a DFS Army VIP, you knew that we switched to Mike Evans later in the week on Saturday when we saw that the Godwin ownership was climbing. And the Evans was climbing over 10%. And the Evans ownership was looking at like 5.6% owned on FanDuel. So we made that switch. I let our DFS Army VIPs know. Another reason that you should become a DFS Army VIP. And yeah, he was good. Thielen, struggle bus. They went to Hayden Hurst in the end zone. And then Gerald Everett lost out to a Donnie Parham touchdown, which really pissed me off. And Geek is convinced that our fearless leader here at DFS Army, is convinced that Donnie Parham is the number 1 tight end in that offense. I disagree, but that's neither here nor there. I still will have a little bit of Everett this week. So that's last week, right? I thought it was okay. It wasn't great, right? I think the whole main slate in general last week, people tended to struggle with, like, across the industry. I thought ownership projections were a little bit wonky. It's the first week of the year. We don't really know what anybody's going to do. And then, it was just, there was some weird spots, right? Weird spots all around. Guys who you thought were maybe going to smash didn't. Guys who you had no interest in smash. So it was a weird week. And here's the deal. We're in week 2. We know a little bit more, but anybody that tells you they know exactly what's going to happen in these offenses this week is lying to you, right? Nobody knows. This is a 1 week sample, right? Nobody knows. Everybody is guessing that you might have a lean, right? For me personally, what I'm going to do is on most of my content or how I'm building this week is I'm going to look at Vegas, right? Obviously, I'll use some of that, like the matchups, who ran what route, what are we looking at, how, things like that. But again, I say it all the time. Vegas is smarter than me. And so I'm going to be looking at props. And maybe I'll show you guys the Proptimizer today, which is one of my new favorite tools here at DFS Army. So let's get into this week. We are first talking about DraftKings, and the game that everybody loves this week, or the secondary game that everybody loves this week, is the Lions and the Seahawks. Right now, it's I'm pretty high on Jared Goff. I thought he looked great against the Chiefs on Thursday last week. We know from backtesting that low-owned QBs often show up in the middle of making lineups, especially ones that are in high-owned total games that are somehow going overlooked. And for me, that looks like Jared Goff this week at currently 7.9% owned and only 6,200 salary. Passing props, again, I said I was going to look at those a lot. 266, and he's a heavy favorite to throw 2 touchdown passes. So for me, I think that Goff's ownership could climb as the week goes on, as people go, oh, yeah, we like the Seahawks, or we like this game. I think it's going to blow up, right? And one guy that seems to be getting a lot of buzz is Amon-Ra St. Brown. He's projecting close to 20% owned. So for me, the way to get different with Goff this week is to not actually pair him in the millie with Amon-Ra St. Brown, just because I'm getting that sort of correlated leverage. And I want to go to guys like Sam Laporta and Josh Reynolds, who's super cheap and potentially has the better defensive back matchup. So I like those two guys if I am playing Goff. Obviously, the run back is going to be my boy DK Metcalf, but really Kenneth Walker, Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Njigba, did I say that right? JSN for lack of a better, since I can't pronounce it. But yeah, if they're home, he's home. He's a 5-point favorite, high total. Like, yes, please don't overthink this one I wrote in here. I'm going to have Goff and Goff stacks in about 25% of my lineups. Another guy that I'm really high on because he's massively cheap on DraftKings is Baker Mayfield. He gets to go up against the terrible Bears defense that made Jordan Love look like the second coming of Aaron Rodgers or Brett Favre. And here's why people get so stuck on the game total sometimes. And I get that obviously, again, I literally just said 5 seconds ago that Vegas is smarter than me. But there is still fantasy goodness in this games, in these low total games, because we get the points per dollar, right? The guys in these games are going to be priced lower. And man, like, I watched Baker last week. I thought he looked okay, but he just has so many weapons. We talked about Mike Evans. We got Chris Godwin, right? Cade Otton, Rashad White. And the reason that I like Mayfield so much this week is because that stack against the awful Bears is easy to do, and it lets you have room for guys like CMC or semi-healthy. I think he's healthier than maybe they're letting on. Travis Kelce, who is going to play. So this also should be a tight game. We're looking at a 2.5-point total. The Bucs are only 2.5-point favorites at home, which means that they expect that Fields and the Bears to be competitive this week after looking like trash last week. Sorry, Bobby Wow. So I do like Mayfield a lot this week, but not great props. 220 and a passing TD. I think he gets 2 TDs at a minimum this week. So I will be heavy on Baker Mayfield. Not sure why I'm choking to death here. Next up, we've got guy back from injury this week, and that is Zach Moss, running back for the Indianapolis Colts. 1.16% owned. DK salary is 4,700. He is going to play this week. He was dealing with a little bit of a forearm injury. That's why he didn't play last week. But then Deion Jackson was the guy last week. He fumbled twice. Evan Hall, who was the backup, he is now out on the injured reserve. They signed Jake Funk, but backup from the Rams last year. I just don't see him being involved at all after being just signed. So, this is Moss's backfield. 4,700. I think he's cash viable this week if you want to go there. The floor is a little scary, but he smashed the Texans previously in his career. They've let Justice Hill score twice last week in the Ravens. At 4,700, I can't get past Zach Moss. I think he's viable on both sites. I got him listed as a DraftKings play here. He's an elite FanDuel play too. Really, really high on him. On the other side of that game, a guy that I'm high. I was really high on. Now I'm sort of a little bit concerned. not super concerned because I think the backups are fine. But Nico Collins, wide receiver for the Houston Texans, with CJ Stroud last week, he had 11 targets, 158 air yards, which is just bonker. I think 140 some were unrealized air yards, just a ridiculous number. Stroud looked his way early and often downfield. The Colts just gave up 101 to Calvin Ridley. They are giving up big games to opposing wide receivers. And now my little hold up here is that CJ Stroud showed up on the injury report today with an injury, with a shoulder injury. I'm not, again, super concerned. Depending on what route they go, both of their backups are capable here. And actually maybe better than Stroud, just given that Stroud is obviously a high draft pick and they want to get him involved. But, you add in this sort of usage that he got last week, the ownership, the price tag, and then throw in that Noah Brown is going on the IR. So it's really just Robert Woods and Nico Collins here. Tank Dell is going to get some more looks now with Brown out. He's super explosive, but this is Collins' offense. I'm high on him and will have plenty of exposure. I will be 15-20% on Collins this week on my DraftKings lineups. I think he's fine on FanDuel. I don't love the touchdown upside though there. Another guy that I'm high on or that I'm in on this week on DraftKings, our final play here on DraftKings, is my boy Sam Laporta. I mentioned him earlier, but I think he is viable without Jared Goff. At 3,900, 4% owned. He played 85% of the snaps last week. The Seahawks are a funnel tight end defense. And my only concern here is maybe the red zone usage and the fact that they use him to block quite a bit. They're not splitting him out as much as I'd like in the slot and things like that. But, I think that he at 3,900, you can't go wrong, especially considering the ownership. 3,900 and 15% owned. I'd be questioning it a little, but 3,900, 4% owned. I'm really high on Laporta this week. Second game as a rookie, I really like to see what he did. I mentioned that I was sorry to my boy Bobby earlier because he is a Bears fan, but you know what? Bobby doesn't care. He won $1 million a couple years ago. So, all right, let's go to FanDuel. Also, before we keep going here, I want to talk a little bit about DFS Army again. It's my job to tell you, guys, again, we saw the winners. You saw the $1 million winner from Bobby. He's won two millions. All right. One on a showdown, one here. The guy is a hero. He's in the Discord chatting it up with guys every day. So, really, you're missing out if you're not here. You can use that code not DFSUpNorth, just UpNorth for 10% off. Okay, before we get here, we need to go to DFS Army. I wanted to show you that prop tool that I was talking about. It is just such a fantastic new addition to the DFS Army tools this week, and is a major part of my process now every single week. So if we go to I clicked on player props. I wanted to click on the Proptimizer. Awesome tool. If I can ever get it to load. There we go. Proptimizer. Oh yeah, use that code up front, but you can use the code NFL23 still. Oh baby, I'm not logged in. Let's go. See me enter my code. You guys know all my passwords. All right. Let's get to that Proptimizer. Ooh, that Shark Chronicles article, man. We talk about back testing, things like that. My boy Burns, he writes that every single week, looking at some of the trends in the Million Maker and what those lineups look like. You can use that, follow his process to really, the guy's been just super close multiple times on taking it down. So really what we've got here is any game you want. We can look at everything here. But we can look at the prop market for passing touchdowns. So who's got the highest passing touchdown prop this week, or what's the sports book's projected line for all of these guys, right? So we got Brock Purdy 1.69. You want to look at the Chargers game. Obviously, if some of these markets are getting yanked or aren't there, right? We can see, what's Vegas say? Consensus line is that Keenan Allen 71.5 total receiving yards. Mike Williams about 11 less. We also have our Sharp app, which is the sportsbook portion of DFS Army, that it tells you their projection as well, and they the over here on Keenan Allen in this game. Right? Oh, actually, let's see. Do we get a Josh Kelly rushing yards line yet? Oh, we do. Yeah, Josh Kelly, 55.5 rushing yards. We like him for 60. He's going to be like chalk play of the week here in this spot. And one of those guys that I think, like, I'm just giving you my opinion at this point, you have to play him. Like, he is just going to be a spot in your lineup that you are just going to put in, even in the millie, and just move on. Right? Because the way that this offense works, like, he is going to get touches. They play in the red zone all the time. Like, he is going to get his at his price, with Eckler not even likely to travel with the team. I'm really high on a guy like Josh Kelly. So yeah, you can search this for everything, right? You want to bet, but you can use this. But for me, I'm higher on this for things like I'm higher on this for things like, like DFS, right? So we can see, like, okay, Mike Evans, the sports books project him at 53.3, right? Godwin, 53.07. Interestingly, we don't have a DJ Moore line, but we do have a Khalil Herbert line on receiving, who you're going to hear about here in a second. So, did I show this? Oh, I wish I could rewind. Anyways, I'm going to talk about it again because my head might have been on the screen here while we were talking about this. But yeah, so here's the Proptimizer, right? You can see the sportsbook projection, our Sharp app projected line for all of these. You can go game by game. You want to see, I like Houston, right? What's the line on Cullen? So 46.5 is the sportsbook projection. The Sharp app projection is 54.95. The prize picks are in there too. If you use prize picks or sleeper or things like that, you can use this for anything. Sorry if I didn't have that on the screen. I'm not 100% sure I did. So all right, let's bring up back to FanDuel. All right, this one kind of hurts me a little bit as a Vikings fan, but Jordan Love looked pretty decent last week. Now, was that just the Bears, or was it that Jordan Love is actually pretty decent? I think it's maybe a combination of both, but this week he gets to go up against the Atlanta Falcons, who are not good either. The big concern here is that Christian Watson's likely going to be out again, but we get Aaron Jones out as well. And now, as much as I like that they lean on the running game, they lean on it too much sometimes, and that can hurt a guy like Jordan Love's upside. So I think that they're going to really lean on the passing game. It's an easy stack with Romeo Doubs. I wrote that Musgrave's fine. He's going to be a little bit overowned. You might have to just eat it. I'm seeing that, obviously the Falcons linebackers are having some issues here. For me, it's not like a double stack on FanDuel. But if you want to go somebody like Bijan Robinson on the way back, I don't hate that either. I think he's going to be underowned given the skill set. I think that Bijan Robinson is a guy that has 2 to 3 touchdown upside every single week. Like, that's just the skill set that he has. He's explosive. He's so good catching the ball. He's great in the red zone. Tyler Allgeier there is obviously concerning. But the upside for a guy like Robinson is huge. Just the floor is not that great. So next up we've got a Bear, but Khalil Herbert. All right. I was a little bit shocked by this. Okay. This ownership and price combination. He's 5,800 on FanDuel. That is lower priced than Matt Breida, who is the backup to Saquon Barkley. Like, I don't get it. I'm not sure. Right. I get that Roschon Johnson had 55 and a TD last week, but that was mostly because he was getting in there when the Bears were getting blown out. Right. I think that Herbert, like, he's going to get 15-ish touches. I think he's got tons of TD equity. Obviously, Fields in the red zone is a little concerning, but my goodness, like, this is insane. The price and the number and what you can do with your lineup just by locking in Herbert and a Josh Kelly. You look pretty good on FanDuel. So I'm high on Herbert here. I hope that ownership stays down. I don't see why it wouldn't, but and worth noting, his touchdown prop has got some steam, meaning that it's come down. Okay, so it's gone from plus 290 to plus 230 currently, meaning that people are betting for him to score an anytime touchdown. Next up, I wrote DK's a beast. This is a great game by Ironman and scoring. He's going to go off. I don't know why he's not 20% owned. I'm pretty much all in on DK this week. The Lions can't stop anyone. I'm not writing anymore. Play DK, collect your money, move on to week 3. Seriously. Cover boy for this article on dfsarmy.com this week. Get involved. Like, I think DK again is going to have a monster day. Now, I say that, and there's always this like little thing in the back of my head that, like, we're gonna get a Tyler Lockett 200-yard 2 TD game at some point. I'm putting that out into the atmosphere right now, just so that I can cut this clip up and say, like, oh, look how right I was. But no, that is always a little bit in the back of my head that something like that is going to happen. But I do like DK this week. Finally, Irv Smith Jr., former Minnesota Viking. But I'm kind of high on this whole passing game. Burrow looked like trash in week 1, but I think that at home, divisional matchup against the beat up Ravens secondary, I think it's a good spot. Everybody's going to play Jamar Chase and T. Higgins. Those are great plays, but I do like the tight end spot, especially considering that Burrow had some struggles, right? We might see a little bit more Irv Smith. He's been a great pass catcher throughout his years. I think the ownership ends up lower than even what we see here. Had a couple of catches last week. Marcus Williams is out again. Season-ending injury. They say it's not season-ending. Pectoral injury for Marcus Williams, but this is the second injury 2 years in a row for Williams that he's been injured. I think that we could get a big, Millie Maker type winning game. Not even, I think that if Irv Smith gets a touchdown and 50 yards, he has potential at this price to be in the Millie Maker. Obviously, the Millie Maker relies on a lot more things to happen. I don't think we're going to see a 3-touchdown, 150-yard game from Irv Smith, but I just like what you can do with your build at the price. Last but not least, we've got Zay Jones. Why is he 3.7% owned? 6,300 on FanDuel. Everybody loves this game, but everybody loves Christian Kirk and Travis Etienne, apparently. Or sorry, I wrote Christian Kirk. I meant to write Calvin Ridley. I got to go in and change that. Christian Kirk got no looks last week, but they like Calvin Ridley and Travis Etienne instead of Jones, who had 7 targets last week. He brought in an 18-yard touchdown. He has best year last year, so why aren't we playing him? That's confusing to me. Great game environment. I will be in on this. And finally, my streamer special defense. Last week we had the Jags. They had a nice week. They were, I think, defense number 4 last week in scoring. And I'm kind of high on the Jets here, right? We got Zach Wilson. I get it. He's going to turn the ball over a couple times. People are going to be playing the Cowboys D, but that total of 45.5 and -5 is because the Jets D is so good. They picked off Allen 4 times. They got multiple, they're good. Obviously, they ran that touchdown back, or they ran the kick return back, or punt return. I don't see why you're not slamming the Jets in here. I get they're on the road. It's not what, and my friend, like I said, Burns' Millie Maker article, he would say, don't play the Jets here, but I like the Jets. I think that this defense is good. I think they've got some mojo. I think the Jets cover. It's gross, but I like the Jets this week, and I think that they have the potential for 15, 20 points on defense, especially against Dak, who we saw have the most interceptions of his career last year. They smashed the Giants, whatever. I get it, but that wasn't really because Dak had a great game. It's just more so that the Giants were terrible, and Daniel Jones had the worst game of his career. So, again, that's what I got for you guys this week. If you're not a DFS Army VIP, use the code UpNorth. I'm hopeful that we can have another big week. Let me know who your favorite low-owned 10% play is. Again, I think of those 10, my favorite play this week is I kind of got I got this feeling that Khalil Herbert's going to have a big game. So that's where I'm going this week. That's probably my favorite super low on GPP play. Let me know who yours is in the comments. If you're not a DFS Army VIP, use that code UpNorth, get yourself 10% off. Check out all our other amazing content. I'm pointing to wherever I end up putting these on the end screen, and have a fantastic week to everybody. I'll be back. Not for you guys. This is Sunday VIP only showdown podcast talking about the Sunday night showdown. So have a great week, guys. Let me know who you like. Cheers.